Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to continue covering the latest developments in the Middle East region, and particularly to focus on the outcomes of the peace summit which took place in Sharm el-Sheikh and ended with signing the ceasefire agreement to end the bloodshed and to end the Israeli genocide war in Gaza, which killed at least 68,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children. And we are going to have live here in the studio one of our diplomatic figures. Egyptian diplomacy has always been the voice of reason, of wisdom, speaking about peace at the peace based on justice and power. Well, let's know who is our guest, our prominent guest who is going to answer all our questions regarding this point in specific, the Middle East region and its situation, in addition to other sides of the same coin, because the stability and the security of the Middle East is part and parcel of our national security. Let's know, and then we are going to return back with more. Wrote on September 17, 1964, fluent in Arabic, English, French, and Spanish. Mootaz Ahmedein Khalil rose through Egypt's diplomatic corps to become his nation's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York. Technical and quietly forceful, Khalil was asked to lead delicate files, from chairing the coordinating bureau of the non-aligned movement at the 2012 Tehran summit to heading the ad hoc work group on revitalizing the General Assembly during the 67th session. Those roles showcased his skill at building consensus across diverse blocs. Climate diplomacy became one of his signatures. As a senior negotiator, he represented Egypt at Copenhagen and later Rio +20, bringing an emphasis on sustainable development and on connecting climate policy to national and regional security concerns. At the UN, he also engaged on arms trade and disarmament discussions, describing draft treaty text as work in progress, while pressing for realistic, implementable language, an approach rooted in pragmatism more than rhetoric. After his UN tenure, he has remained active in training and capacity building, delivering practical UN-focused courses with UNITA and mentoring a new generation of diplomats. Whether in negotiating rooms or the training classroom, Mootaz Ahmedein Khalil's career has been defined by one constant: a belief that Egypt's interests are best defended through skillful multilateral engagement, a legacy of steadiness at a time when international diplomacy rarely offers simple answers. Welcome back. Let me welcome my dear guest live here in the studio, His Excellency Ambassador Mootaz Ahmedein, former permanent representative of Egypt in the United Nations in New York. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good morning.
Thank you for having me and for this very nice introduction.
Sir, let's start immediately, and let's start with some of your statements regarding the peace summit which took place in Sharm el-Sheikh, as you described it as a crucial test for regional stability. From your perspective, what were the real gains out of the summit?
That was a very important summit, no doubt, especially that its main purpose from our point of view was to cement the agreement that has been reached a couple of days before in Sharm el-Sheikh, to implement the first phase of the Trump plan for peace, specifically the ceasefire and the introduction of humanitarian aid in large amounts to secure food and medical attention for our brothers and sisters in Gaza.
Yeah.
This was the main purpose from our side. From the Trump side, I think it was to a second opportunity or a second chance to add to the Trump plan something related to the normalization of relations and the expansion of the Abrahamic Accords, which was reflected in the declaration that was signed during the summit.
And sir, also you said that peace by force can never be sustainable peace. How do you see this as one of the points which we should take care of and take into consideration while negotiating? Because of course we are going to need more negotiations.
Exactly, because if you have an agreement that is forced down the throat of the parties, it's not going to be implemented.
Yeah.
This issue or this statement about peace through strength is right if we are meaning deterrence. But if it is peace by force, it is not going to work. You have to have a win-win situation, because as long as if it is a zero-sum game, the party that is losing everything would not have an incentive to stay in the agreement, to implement it, or he will wait until he gets enough power in order to break the agreement.
You also had a very important statement regarding the term of militias. Okay, if you want to elaborate.
Please go ahead.
Now, to speak about militias as introduced by Israel, and to have this as part and parcel of its policy, despite the fact that all the time used this term of defending itself. How do you see this contradiction?
No, of course, Israel has always been a rogue state in the region. And what happened in 7 October did not create a new situation. It just revealed how bad the situation is. Israel was the first state in the region to introduce militias during the Lebanon civil war in the mid-70s, when they created the South Lebanon Army that was in the border between Lebanon and Israel, and it stayed there challenging the state of Lebanon and the government of Lebanon until 1982, when it disbanded and its leader went to Israel for political asylum. Israel is claiming to defend itself, but it follows a policy of with all friends or foes, a policy of isolation first, second disarmament, and then they go for the kill or the dislocation or displacement. This has happened with everybody, even with Egypt. In the Camp David Accords, we have some restrictions on the arms and troops that can be into the Sinai. They even protest when we try to buy weapons to defend ourselves from the United States. It happens with the United Arab Emirates. They protested the F-35 fighter jets that were supposed to be bought by the United Arab Emirates. With Saudi Arabia, they protested against the nuclear, peaceful nuclear capabilities that Saudi Arabia is intending to construct. And of course with Hezbollah, with Iraq, with Iran, the same policy. Isolation, regionally and internationally, and then disarming, and then go for the kill.
But don't you think, sir, that the last 2 years ended with isolation for Israel itself by the international community? I mean, if there is one merit after the Israeli genocide war, which lasted for 2 years, now nobody can deny that there were thousands, or not thousands, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators all over the world against what the Israeli side is doing in Gaza, and the killing of tens of thousands of Palestinian civilians, mostly women and children. How do you see this, and how do you see also that the summit of Sharm el-Sheikh came only a few weeks after the UN General Assembly, where a number of big powers recognized a Palestinian state and announcing that they are going to have diplomatic ties with Palestine as a state?
Two very important points here. Regarding the isolation, this is the policy of Israel, of course, towards the region. But you cannot fool everybody all the time. And of course now all the international community, except for the United States, understand how rogue Israel is, and it is common knowledge that this is the aggressive and rogue state in the region that threatens not only regional stability but also the world stability or global peace. But of course we know that Trump has come for the rescue. Even his peace plan, one of the main objectives is not to establish a Palestinian state, nor a just peace between both parties, but to rescue the reputation of Israel. He has said that, not me. And of course, to get the Nobel Peace Prize, which has failed. And the third main objective was to rescue the hostages, which has been achieved. This is one point. Getting back to the General Assembly, the two-state conference declaration is very important, but we have to remind ourselves that Palestine is, in my opinion, already a state. I had the honor, when I was the permanent representative of Egypt in 2012, to chair the Arab group when there were negotiations about a historic resolution that was taken on 29 November 2012, the Day of Palestine in the United Nations, in order to give Palestine the status of a non-state observer, like the Holy See and like Switzerland before they decided to join as in full member. So Palestine is a state recognized by the United Nations, although not a full member. They had a government, they had ambassadors, they have everything except, of course, the territory is disputed and it is not empowered. The two-state conference had discussed steps to empower the Palestine state, and unfortunately...
But the timing and the venue, sir, the timing and the venue where these declarations took place, don't you think that this was indicating a lot? And this was a kind of success for the Egyptian diplomacy, and this came after marathon talks and negotiations and efforts exerted by the Egyptian diplomacy to reach this point?
It was very important, and especially that we have like 10 states, 10 important states from Europe that have recognized Palestine. But again, we have to be a little cautious, because the 40-something points or paragraphs of the declaration, we have like 39 have been rehashed time and again at the United Nations, in the Security Council and the General Assembly, including the establishment of a Palestinian state or the two-state solution. But they introduced 3 or 4 points that are very important and that they have not been introduced before at the General Assembly language. One, the reform of the Palestinian Authority, the disarmament of Hamas, and preventing Hamas from having any role in the future. This is acceptable in general, but I fear that they are going to focus this and make it a precondition of achieving the most objective goals of restoring the rights of the Palestinian population, and this is what we see in the focus of Israel and President Trump. Yeah, I mean, the irony, I remember the last Security Council meeting on Palestine, the permanent representative of Israel was mentioning these points, although he did not attend the conference nor the meeting of the General Assembly that voted overwhelmingly to adopt the declaration of the conference. So we have to be cautious and follow on to implement the rights of the Palestinian people and of the Arabs in general, because this is a conflict between the Arabs and Israel, not Palestine.
I'm going to return to this point, sir, but if you permit me, I should see the opportunity to have you and to have a yes or no question. Do you see that the General Assembly or the UN is really in need of structural reform?
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course. Returning back to our main topic and to the guarantees. Do we have any guarantees that at least the first phase is going to be implemented on the ground successfully, particularly after the latest statements released by the American administration?
Well, the first phase, I am not very worried that it is going to break. I think the ceasefire is going to last. Why? Because Israel has already 55% of Gaza. They have the security perimeter, including the Philadelphia corridor, unfortunately. They do not need a daily massacre and genocide in which 100+ martyrs from Palestine do incent the international community to condemn Israel. So I don't think that the ceasefire is going to break. But the withdrawal of the Israeli troops is under question, of course. It is one of the ambiguous parts of the Trump plan. And most important, during the first phase, Israel is stalling regarding the introduction of humanitarian aid and the necessary equipment in order to remove the rubble and open roads and restore hospitals and bread-making factories or establishments and so on. This is what Israel is counting on in order to reach a situation in which this population is forced to flee or to leave its
Sir, do you see
territory.
some ups and downs in the Israeli-American relations? Because there are statements which I think they were not said before. I mean, for example, the American Special Envoy to the Middle East, Witkoff, he said yesterday, I was betrayed with the Israeli attack on Qatar. I didn't know about it except after it happened already. The word betrayed, using the word betrayed, I think diplomatically it was not used before between the two allies. And Trump himself said the two sides are tired of war, meaning that he had this term, or he was informed or was briefed by the Israeli side saying that. How do you see the new terminology?
No, in my opinion, the relationship between the United States and Israel has never been better than now with the Trump administration. If the special envoy or President Trump mentions that they did not like what happened in Qatar, I don't believe this, because after Trump denied knowing the fact that Israel was going to bomb, it has been leaked that Netanyahu called him over the phone for about 20 or 30 minutes sometime before the strike. Maybe the main reason for these statements is that Witkoff and Trump, of course, do respect very much Qatar, and especially the money that Qatar is investing in the United States. Remember, during the peace summit in Sharm el-Sheikh and during the speech of Trump in the Knesset, he was mentioning the Abrahamic Accords and that he was going to meet with countries with a lot of money. When he met the vice president or vice emir of the United Arab Emirates, he used the sentence, a lot of cash. This is what he cares for. Witkoff, in his famous interview with Tucker Carlson, praised Qatar and mentioned that they are paying everything regarding the Al Adid military base, and that they are investing a lot in the United States, and that the Gulf countries are the new power players because of the money they have.
So let's go to Netanyahu himself, because there were many experts who are saying that Netanyahu is continuing with the genocide war and continuing with the demolition of Gaza, damaging the whole strip, because he knew what's going to be awaiting for him after, if there is a ceasefire or after the end of the war, with charges of corruption, with being in front of his people, the one who failed in doing whatever he promised them to do, and all stuff like that. Do you believe in this?
Well, I think that Netanyahu is stronger now than before. This is one. Second, as I mentioned just a minute ago, Trump is coming to the rescue, and he's sending J.D. Vance, his vice president, to the rescue of Netanyahu Tuesday or Monday. I'm not sure. I think it's Tuesday. So I don't think that the situation of Netanyahu is shaking. He just announced that he's intending to present his candidature for the post of prime minister after the elections due next year, and he can count on the United States, support. Even what is ironic is that the United States yesterday, very late yesterday in Cairo time, had informed the mediators, the Arab and Islamic mediators, Egypt, Qatar and Turkey, that they had some information that Hamas is preparing to break the ceasefire against the Palestinian population. And that if they do so, if Hamas does so, the United States would find itself compelled to intervene to prevent that. This is really ironic, in my opinion, because the United States has been helping Israel to perpetrate genocide with American weapons, and they never condemned Israel in this regard. So are they keeping the Palestinian population safe and ready for Israel to kill them again?
Egypt kept the Palestinian population safe and again and again refused to liquidate the Palestinian caused by the displacement of the Palestinian people, whether inside or outside their land. Sir, one final question regarding the early recovery and the construction of Gaza Conference, which is due to take place here in Egypt, here in Cairo, to be accurate, in few weeks or even few days from now. how do you see its importance and how this can be another platform or venue for more negotiations to guarantee the success of our efforts to support the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people?
The conference is extremely important, and it shows the excellent work that has been done by Egypt in order to develop the Gaza reconstruction plan that has been endorsed by the Arab and Islamic Summit. This plan has been prepared in coordination with the United Nations, with the European Union, and with non-governmental organizations that work in the humanitarian field. The importance of the conference of reconstruction that we intend to convene since March, by the way, but we're waiting for the ceasefire,
Yes.
is that this reconstruction plan is the easy way to help the Palestinian population. But we have a competing plan. The point number 10 in the Trump plan, the Trump development plan for Gaza. This is a Riviera Plus, and we have to be very careful in order to
He
stress.
said he knew nothing about this Riviera. But anyway, sir, unfortunately, I'm running out of time, and I do have a lot of other questions regarding the climate change, regarding Iran, regarding a lot of other topics. But I have only 90 seconds. After the expiry of the Iran treaty, and Iran said that now they do not have any bound for the elements or the points which were said in the treaty, and they are going to continue with what they have started. Do you think that this is going to lead to another chaotic situation between Iran and world powers, or negotiations can settle the whole issue?
Well, first of all, the Iran's position is legally correct.
Okay.
According to the plan, the JCPOA, yes, after 10 years, it ends. China and Russia have issued a statement in support of the Iranian position. But again, remember this policy of Israel, isolation, disarmament, and then go for the strike. I think now that they have pacified or stabilized the front in Gaza, they are going to strike Iran again if they can. So we have to brace ourselves for some rough time ahead.
And to cross our fingers that this is not going to happen, and we are going to maintain security and stability in the Middle East region.
Hopefully.
Well, sir, thank you very much for your input, and have a very good day.
Thank you very much.
We were very much delighted and honored to have with us live here in the studio His Excellency Ambassador Mootaz Ahmedein, former Egypt permanent ambassador representative in the United Nations in New York. After the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.